Hi there, Dr. Tolson here with another episode of Vet Talk. Today we're going to be talking about heartworms. Now this is a condition that affects almost exclusively dogs, but it can affect cats as well. Now what are heartworms? These are literally worms that live inside the heart of your pet. It's a little gross, but here's a picture from an autopsy showing an infected dog's heart. As you can see, these are long, spaghetti-like worms that range in size anywhere from 4 to 12 inches. Now, how does your pet get this? They get it from the bite of an infected mosquito. Now, in my experience, most of my cases that come to me for heartworms are from a household that the owner describes as being mosquito-free. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, there's no such thing as a mosquito-free household. And it only takes one bite from an infected mosquito to get the heartworm disease. So let's talk about the damage that heartworms can cause. These worms pack a punch, unfortunately. With cats, it's almost 100% of the time going to be fatal, no matter what. So thank goodness cats don't get it as much, but when they do, it's devastating. With dogs, although they do a lot better than cats do, it's still very, very serious. These worms are highly pro-inflammatory, meaning that they just irritate everything. So the blood vessels going from the heart to the lungs, they get very, very irritated, and so your dog will cough a whole lot. Even if we were to treat those worms on day one of us being able to detect it, your dog's probably gonna have a chronic cough the rest of its life. But most of these cases don't get treated on day one. Most of these go on for a long time. And so in addition to having very inflamed, very irritated lung vessels, you're also going to get what I like to call clogged toilet syndrome. Now I've got a little diagram here to show what this is. Here's the heart. Here are the tissues in your body. That could be your brain, your muscles, your skin, your tendons, you name it. And whenever your heart is pumping blood, it wants to go forward. And then once it goes and does its job, it comes back to the heart through the veins. Well, when you have worms here that are clogging everything up, think of it like a clogged toilet. What happens when you try to flush? Everything starts backing up. So now you've got all this extra blood that's backing up in these veins here, and that causes a lot of issues. First off, you're not getting the proper blood flow you need to your tissues. So your dog's gonna start getting really, really tired. It's not able to properly oxygenate things. It's gonna not be able to go for those walks as long as it used to. Also, as this blood is backing up, all the organs that are, I guess, upstream, as you would call it, upstream from this, they start getting really distended with this. Biggest example is the liver. So a lot of dogs that have heart failure, regardless of if it's heartworms or any other type of heart condition, if they're having what we call backwards heart failure, then that liver is just going to get really, really distended with all that blood. And so your animal can get a really, really big abdomen, and eventually that liver cannot function as well as it otherwise would. So there's a lot of issues that these heartworms cause. Now, even if you were to catch it early and start treating it, guess what? It's also very, very expensive to treat this condition. On average cost of heartworm treatment is about $1,500. Very, very expensive. The amount of money that you're going to spend on heartworm prevention is way less than the amount of money that you would spend on heartworm treatment. So prevention is key here. So let's talk about that. How do we prevent this? Give your pet heartworm prevention every single month of the year for their entire life. I'm going to say that one more time for emphasis. All 12 months throughout the year, your dog needs to be on heartworm prevention. It never gets cold enough for long enough here in Texas to completely wipe out mosquitoes. Heck, ask people in Alaska, what's their state bird? They'll jokingly tell you the mosquito. So they're everywhere, even when it's cold. So let's talk about testing. Most of the time, your pet will need an annual heartworm test. Regardless of if we're on prevention or not, we want to test for it annually. Now, why is that? Why is it that even though we're on this prevention that we've been preaching about as being so good, why do we want to do the testing? Well, just like with human birth control, this prevention is not 100% effective. It's very close, but it's not 100% effective. So we want to check for the ones that have slipped through the cracks, and so we do that annually. In certain circumstances, we may even recommend rechecking the heartworm test 6 months later, and your veterinarian will tell you if that ends up being the case. Another good thing is that if you're able to prove through official documentation from a vet clinic that we have been on prevention all 12 months out of the year, and we have had our testing at the recommended intervals, If we've done all of that and the pet still gets heartworms, the manufacturer of that prevention, a lot of times they'll pay for every single penny of treatment, which, as we said earlier, on average is about $1,500. So look at it as another financial investment for yourself as well. So if your pet needs more heartworm prevention or simply needs to have its annual heartworm test, give us a call or visit us online at manshackvet.com. That does it for today's episode of Vet Talk. We'll see you next time.